Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. Shannon here with Fit for Profit, where we help fitness business owners, wellness business owners, to keep more money so that you have more positive energy to provide the services that you provide to your clients. So, hope everyone is having a fabulous Thursday morning. Curious, what are you looking forward to this weekend, or what are you celebrating? I know it's our first weekend without baseball in a month or so, and I'm really excited about being able to take a really nice long walk and just enjoy some spring weather here in northern Indiana with my husband and my family, not on a baseball diamond, where for most of the season so far, we have been bundled up in winter coats. We did have one really nice day, but then we went back to winter coats, which is, again, typical of Midwestern winter. So if you're here live, definitely give me a like or a thumbs up or a heart so that I can just know that you're here. It's always good to know if somebody's here live. And definitely if you're catching this on the replay, #replay is always nice as well. And just like I said, let me know, what are you celebrating? What's been great this week? Or what are you looking forward to over your weekend? Either one is great information. So today I wanted to take a little bit of time and talk to you about how to use and implement Profit First in a brand new business, or maybe a business that hasn't even gotten started yet. This is really part one of two. Profit First has a lot of focus on reducing expenses and keeping expenses in line. But for a brand new business, revenue is most important at the same time. Like, you have to have revenue in order to sustain a business and to have a business. So I want to talk about expenses today first, since that's the main focus of Profit First. But it has some really good applications in brand new businesses. And then next week, I will talk about how to use Profit First to reverse engineer your pricing and your revenue as well. So like I said, just part one of two here today. And if you know someone who is thinking about going into business or starting a business or thinking about going out on their own, definitely be sure to share this with them. And if you've been in business for a really long time, this is still very applicable. So don't just write it off because you've been in business for a while. So let's just dive right in. The most important thing in any business, really, but definitely a brand new business, is to get to what we call TAPs, or target allocation percentages, as soon as possible. So if you are able to open your business without any overhead, you should be starting at those target allocation percentages for a brand new business, doing $0 to $300,000 in real revenue. That is true for a lot of businesses, actually. And that's why we like to talk to brand new business owners, because if you can have that mentality going in, you're going to be a lot better off in the long run. So like my business, because I work from home, I had a computer already. I really just needed to find some clients, and then I needed a little bit of software, but I had very, very low overhead. So I was able to, when I got my very first dollar of revenue, be working at target allocation percentages. Now, I didn't do that because I didn't have target allocation percentages, but that is what we hope will happen. It also, now having that in mind, helps people keep overhead as low as possible for as long as possible, really. That's really the goal. So the reason we say get to TAPs as soon as possible is it's much easier to establish those good habits from the very beginning than it is to break bad habits. And I think you all know this from other areas of your life. When you think about eating right, it's easier if you just never had bad habits. We all had them, so we have to break them sometimes, or exercise, or just anything, right? Like, my son picks at his fingernails. I wish I'd never started, right? Now it's really hard to break that habit. So the same is true with money in your business. So the best place to start is with the 5 basic accounts and allocating to those 5 accounts every single time you receive income. Or, if you start generating regular income that's coming in throughout the month, doing those allocations on a regular basis. Sometimes, if you only have like one client, they're paying you once a month, maybe you just do allocations the day you get that paycheck, or that revenue in the door. So that's a little bit different, but we want you to have those 5 basic accounts, and that forces you to learn to run your business from the very beginning, only using your operating expense account. And that's the goal. So you may be saying now, like, but what about startup costs? Like I said, I had a computer, but what if you need to buy a computer, or like it takes money just to let people know I'm here? Maybe I want to advertise, maybe I want a website. So yes, hopefully you have a little bit of money that you can invest in the business for those types of things, and you don't have to go into debt, but maybe you're going to go into debt for that as well. And again, you may need like some very basic email, like I said, your website, or basic software, your website, or an email service provider. Again, we want to keep those regular ongoing expenses as minimal as possible, but there are some that are required, right? So again, hopefully you have a little bit of money to put into the business or take on a little bit of debt. Here's the big tip here though, big thing to watch out for. If you're going to invest money into your business, put that in a completely separate account. We don't want that in your operating expense account. And there's a huge reason why. If you put that in your operating expense account, then your operating expense account, let's say you're going to invest $10,000. Your operating account has $10,000 in it. How long is that going to last you? You need to decide that. But beyond that, don't even put it in that account, because then you're forced to look at first, how much revenue am I generating? And if I'm putting 50% into my operating expense account, how much of that, what's that 50%? That's what I can use on my operating expenses in my business. And so you figure out really quickly how much you're generating into that account. And then you can use that initial investment money to subsidize that if you don't have enough. But you realize how much you're subsidizing it with. It kind of gives you motivation to go find the next client, right? If you didn't have any otherwise. So if you have additional investment money that you're going to put into the business, or if you take a loan and you get a large payout on your loan, put that into a completely separate account. So you'll have 6 accounts then at that point. If you're going to be using credit cards, it's imperative that you pay that credit card off from the very beginning, so that, again, you realize how much are you incurring in debt and get that taken care of as soon as possible. The other area where having profit first in your business is really helpful is in creating a budget for your business, knowing how much you can spend on those recurring operating expenses at the very beginning, and then how much you're going to be paying yourself. Okay. So let's just say, to use round numbers, you are going to be using $500 a month on software, whatever that is. We'll just use round numbers. Like I said, I think that's really high, but let's say you're going to be spending $500 a month on the very basics to run your business. That should be 50% of your revenue. That's the target allocation percentage for that business doing under $300,000 of revenue. That means then you would have 40% to pay yourself, 5% for profit, and 5% for tax. Those are those TAPs. That means you need to be making $1,000 a month, right? Because $500 is half. So you need to be making $1,000 a month to cover those basic expenses at target allocation percentages. And when you do that, you can be paying yourself $400 a month. So obviously I picked very simple numbers to do that math because it was going to be easier. But they scale. They scale the whole way up to when you're doing $25,000 in revenue, which means $300,000 a year, because the TAPs are the same up to that point. Or if you are going to bring on an employee, which you probably will need to do before you get to 300,000, then those percentages change a little bit. But that's the really important thing to keep in mind, is those percentages at the very beginning. And if you can run your business off of that, then you can start to talk about, okay, what does growth look like? What can I invest back into the business? How much should I be paying myself? How much can I afford to bring on an employee? How much more overhead can I afford once my operating expense account is building a balance? So that's really important to have those TAPs in mind. In fact, I just had a client tell me last week that he would not be in the lease he's currently in his facility if he had known about Profit First when he first opened his business. He just really didn't have a budgeting tool that would help him realize how much revenue he would have to generate in order to cover that lease. So guardrails are super important at all levels. And the other thing that some people will say sometimes is, well, why should I be allocating to profit and tax if I have debt on my business, or if I'm using an investment to that money that's set aside to pay for my operating expenses? And again, I just go back to, we really are trying to establish the best habits in your business. That's the most important key at the very beginning. The other things that I'll mention there are, if you're allocating, maybe you start with just 1% to your profit account, the chances that you are short just 1% on any bill are slim to none. So let's say it's 1% of that $1,000, that's $10, right, in your operating expense account that you would be reallocating to profit instead of putting in your operating expense account. Most of the time, if you have a bill that you are going to be paying, you're going to be short by more than $10. It's going to be like hundreds of dollars. So having that 1% in your profit account is not what's stopping you from paying that bill. It's a larger dollar amount. And then remember, what's in that profit account at the end of the quarter, most of that would go back into paying off your credit card debt, if that's what you're doing, or back into your investment account, even if you want to repay yourself, if you're looking at that investment as debt from you to the business, then you could repay that as well. So there's lots and lots and lots of ways that Profit First can be immensely helpful as you're starting a business. And like I said, for me, this is the most exciting time to talk to people about Profit First, is when you're first going into business, because there's no bad habits to break. Don't get me wrong, we like to help people break bad habits, and we do that on a regular basis. But if you are considering going into business, definitely take a look at this. If you haven't read Profit First, do that. Let me know. I have some free copies actually that I can still give away, or I can send you the first 5 chapters for free. And if you have questions about anything I said today, definitely leave those in the comments, and I will circle back, check in on those, and help you out any way I can, because this is definitely super important to me and super exciting when people get started off on the right foot. So I'm not sure if you can hear the printer that's going. One of the kids is home today and didn't know that I was recording. So hope everyone has a fantabulous Thursday, and we will see you back here next week, where I'm going to talk about how to use Profit First to reverse engineer your revenue and pricing in your brand new business.